Okay, so let's deal with the absorptions of lipids, which is a little bit different from the absorption of amino acids and glucose. So let's see what's going on here. So as you can see, this diagram shows there's quite a lot of differences in what's going on. So let's take it a step at a time. First of all, triglycerides, once they've been digested, they're digested, remember, into monoglycerides and free fatty acids. Okay, so that pancreatic lipase, with the help of bile, forms those micelles. Okay, and they've been broken down, and we're still in the intestinal lumen here. Now, once the micelle comes into contact with the epithelial cells here, they break down and they release those monoglycerides and fatty acids. Now, of course, they can just diffuse across that plasma membrane by simple diffusion and into the epithelial cells. Now, once into the epithelial cells, then something a little bit different happens. They're transported to the ER, where they're recombined into triglycerides. So you can see here that they're formed into triglycerides. In the endoplasmic reticulum and then in the Golgi apparatus, those triglycerides will associate with cholesterol and other lipoproteins, and they become surrounded, which become surrounded by a protein coat. They form these structures called chylomicrons, which are here. So we've had the micelles, which are the bile that's sort of associated with those monoglycerides and fatty acids. The bile is removed. We then have simple diffusion where they're built up into triglycerides and then into chylomicrons. Now at that point, the chylomicrons are water-soluble lipoproteins, and they are actually too big to pass into the blood capillaries. So we need to get them into blood in a different way. And what happens is they come out of these epithelial cells via exocytosis, and they will enter into the lymphatic system. And these lacteals are part of the lymphatic system that are in the middle of a villus, and they will then flow into there. They're then transported in the lymphatic vessels, which end up through the thoracic duct, which is a little duct that goes from the lymphatic system into the bloodstream up near the heart, in a vein up near the heart. They're then put into the blood. Okay, so this diagram shows you what's going on here. So up here, the green is the lymphatic system. This represents the villus here. And then we've got our all our different molecules, small molecules that have gone into the blood, but obviously the lacteal is where those chylomicrons go into, and then they will travel back here, and then they will go into the blood over here near the heart, which then flows through the vena cava into the heart there. Now, lipids are transported in the lacteals at the centre of the villus, okay? They enter the blood, and once they're in the blood, the endothelial cells within those in the blood will hydrolyze those triglycerides. They'll hydrolyze them into smaller molecules again, and then they can diffuse into cells to be used. A little bit more complicated lipid absorption, so it's worth going back over this and making sure you understand each part. Okay, this is an overview of absorption in the ileum, so take your time to have a look at all the different molecules and where they're going. And that is absorption. So, in your student booklets, you are now to do a little bit of research into lactose intolerance and celiac disease. There's a couple of links here. If you open up the presentation from Godalming Online, you can get to those nice and easily. This is not an exclusive list. Do some other research as well. Spend some time researching, and then you'll need to fill out what you found out in the boxes that are in your student booklets. I'd like to draw your attention to one of the last activities in the student booklet. If I flick through here now, you've got to fill these boxes in, but this summary activity is important. I mentioned it at the beginning of the video. Once you've done all of this and you've read the textbook and watched some of the videos, you need to produce this revision resource, and your teachers will be expecting you to show them what you have done. In terms of extra places you can go to, Bozeman does a really nice video that summarises digestion. Here are some extra notes for you to read, and these animations just go over those sort of digestion and absorption of those 3 groups of molecules. So worth looking at those as well. Once you have completed all of that and you feel really comfortable with what you know, you then need to go and do the exam questions. So I'm going to urge you now and remind you, certainly anyone that has me as a teacher will have heard this before, that when you are attacking those exam questions, you really need to ensure that they're all filled in. There's no excuse for not doing a question. If you struggle with a question, read it again. Make sure you're reading and breaking down what the question's asking you. Do some annotating of what the question's asking you. Look at those command words. And then, if you're still not sure, go back to your notes. Read your notes again. Try and work it out. It doesn't matter if you get the questions wrong. It's better to get them wrong in a way, because then if you've really struggled to work through it, when you go through these questions with your teacher, then you'll see what the question was after, and you won't make those mistakes again, and you'll have a really good positive learning experience from it. So good luck with the questions. As always, you know where all the information is on Godalming Online, and ensure that on the first lesson back you have got your revision resource, your student booklet and the exam questions ready to give in to your teacher. Thanks.